As I've been thinking about the topics going on lately, and this discussion of doing what you want the way you want to do it, and in particularly that angle most recently, right on literally the way you want, as far as do you do it to relax? Do you do it because it challenges you? Do you do it because it brings out your aggressive side or your calm side or something else that maybe is even a nice balance to what goes on in the parts of life that you are responsibly duty bound to doing? And that's actually helped lead me to basically every single month I survey my Game Keto Club members, in a lot of ways, right? They some of you act as partly kind of this test group sometimes for me to help really get a bead on people's experiences and sort of much tighter feedback loop, people who I know are actually doing stuff with the material. But I do these surveys to kind of figure out making decisions about the next things we're doing, and it got me thinking this other topic about, again, why you do it, what you try to get out of doing the things that you want to do that you don't necessarily have to do. And realizing that for many of our people, part of why game development's been such a nice fit for so many of our members, and for some people who I work with, and frankly for me so many times over the years, is that it can be such a diverse field. And especially, I mean, like I often point out, right, less so in industry, we're going to be very specialized in most cases, but certainly in the small teams where you can kind of wear a lot of hats, quite often there's kind of this makeup of there are certain parts of we do that we want to get better at, that we find challenging, that are growth areas for us. There's other aspects of the thing that we might do. Just as an example, so for somebody it might be that programming, they want to get better at it. Another part they might do, not really caring to get better at it, but just as kind of a break from exhausting that part of their brain while they work on art, which is in no way to say art is easier. It is in no way to say that art is I guess this sums it up, right? It's not to say it's easier. It's to say that for this particular individual, it's important to them that they improve at code, and less so, they're comfortable doing art at a level that kind of plateaus early on as just being low stress, something calm, a little more like, and this is not to downplay the potential expertise that goes into this either, but a little bit more kind of straightforward, like knitting or cross-stitching, where it's something which obviously can be done well, but part of why sometimes people find it kind of therapeutic is just some kind of a go through the motions thing. And obviously, for somebody else, it may be that art is where they are really pushing themselves, challenging themselves, learning new techniques, constantly studying, taking tutorials, seeking feedback proactively to make refinements and iterations. And meanwhile, that same person may find that there are parts of programming or approaches to programming that for them, they're fine not ever getting better at. But they might engage with in part to, again, take some of the exhaustion off that side of their thinking. For some people, it's music stuff. For some people, it's game writing things. For some people, level design is their outlet where they can do it relaxing in a way. So basically where this ties back is, I think for my survey this month, I'm going to be kind of sizing up out of our members who choose to engage in the surveys. I mean, the surveys are all optional for our people. But out of these different kind of common categories of game development stuff, getting a kind of a profile, cross-section of our group, who in our group is really actively either challenging themselves does in a way that they're fine as being kind of for relaxation, maybe never wants to get better at, maybe might be open to getting better at someday, but currently not something they want to give attention to. And, again, this includes code, this includes art, this includes sounds, this includes writing. It'll also include, of course, project leadership, an important part of planning and things that goes into every game, all of the 70-plus games we've made in the past 3 years or so. And so, yeah, that's going to be our 3.5 now, probably. Anyway, that's, I think, going to be the survey. And I might even use that because, we've had this number cap now for a while, I think 148. And we're about 2/3-ish there. And even though my preference, right, is to keep it without an application process, to keep it whoever wants to participate in our group before we hit the numbers cap can. I'm actually kind of curious to see if we have some obvious gaps in our, just where our interests lie of who wants to get better at what, who wants to challenge themselves at what, but also who's kind of comfortable filling in, doing sounds low key, which again doesn't mean somebody else isn't doing it expert level or pushing themselves or challenging themselves, but for somebody else that's the thing that they do low key. But maybe just getting in a cross-section overlook of skills, interests, who finds what relaxing, challenging, who wants to never do at all certain things. I wonder if I might even introduce some sort of survey step to our club for the remaining number towards our cap, that 148, just to kind of help balance out the group in terms of percentages of people who do certain things. I don't know. It's something I didn't have to really think about much for a long time in the club's origins, but now we're kind of starting to move towards our cap. I will try to be a little more sensitive to that sort of thing, since depending on people's activity levels, it may kind of freeze up for a little bit as far as what our composition looks like. So anyway, maybe I'll explore that possibility. But that's my thinking today of basically, same kind of question of, I know the other day I was asking kind of what's the thing you like to do and how or why do you like to do it and what do you like to get out of it. But I'm realizing that for many people, part of their kind of self-actualization process is having multiple things that they like to do for different reasons, each of which in some way complements each other and or the way their obligations, what that demands of them. And I even kind of wonder if this might be one of these deals where, I remember I took some grad business courses when I was back in undergrad. It's considered like a 3-2 MBA thing at the time. And they discussed that basically it's not as though there are people who are like high risk behavior and people who are low risk behavior. What winds up happening is most people have somewhere in their life where they're comfortable with risks and somewhere in their life where they're not. And so it's like someone who drives in a dangerous way may not be much of a poker player. Someone who's fine with gambling may drive really conservatively. Someone who's likes to take business risks. And I mean, you get the idea. We find different outlets in our life for where these certain things like to express themselves. And so I do kind of wonder if I might be able to find some sort of pattern to, with what extent do people tend to have a thing that they are driven especially to do increasingly at a competitive level, as opposed to things that they do, I just say, kind of at a relaxation, meditative, just calming kind of way without pressure on themselves or stress on themselves to improve at it. As well as some other things where we just kind of give ourselves a pass of, like, as an example, I'm not going to write music. I'm not going to be a story writer. I don't feel like leading a project. Whatever those things might be, I'm curious to see how that kind of exists in our current group's makeup. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for just, I realize here I was kind of more thinking out loud about what I'm going to do for my group survey. That said, I think, of course, obviously you can kind of ask yourself some of these same kind of questions about what are the things you're doing that you want to push yourself in, that you find relax you and help you recover from that, and what are the things that you've kind of given yourself permission to say, nah, that's not what I'm here to learn, it's not what I'm here to do, I don't find it relaxing, I don't find it interesting. Sometimes it can help to define what we're not doing, to be a little more clear about what we are doing. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.